Remember, you can hit me up on pristineproduction.webstar.com. So we're gonna be taking a little look on Lil Biitts and Farmer Nappy cosign, and I'm gonna show you how to break down the soca rhythm here, and how we can take some of the elements and make them, you know, pop and get it on that level. So let's get right down to it with no further ado. And that's the Farmer Nappy and Lil Biitts co-sign here. So we'll talk about some of the main elements here. Now, in soca music, you want to make sure that you have the right groove and the elements here. I have some VST live drums going here. So the first one here, and shout out to all the fans. Remember, link in the description. Join my channel and pay $5.99 monthly and get super exclusive VIP access to advanced skills. So let's get right down to the guitar here. Now that's the main sound that we want to tackle here. So let's get it right down. This is before. Guitar is very weak, so we needed some bottom end here. So I'm pushing like about 10 dB at 200 here. I'm gonna unmute the channel strip here. As you can see, a little bit of top end on the 8K here. You want to make sure you're hearing those strings. So a little bit of tightness there, a little bit of compression here. I'm bringing the bass line. Now throughout the whole song, cosign, you're hearing the guitar strumming, so you want to make sure we have that texture there. Dry as a dry chips man. Now here's let me break down the rhythm section here. I have the snare section here. So I'm gonna add a little bit of NLS here. I'm gonna warm up this thing. I'm gonna go down to the EQ here. A little bit of 4K to give it a little bit of top end. Now I have a second guitar going with the main strum here, so we can maintain that soca riff. So I'm going to go down to the API here, the API. So I'm getting a little bit of saturation here. I'll switch the analog mode on. I'm mostly using the API as a saturator. You get some analog on the guitar string there. combining that with the guitar, so what this second guitar is doing here, it's adding a little bit of lift with the main strum, so you maintain that soca groove there. So moving on down here, now take a look at the bass instrument here. Here's the bass instrument here. Says it before. Now, when it comes to bass instrument, guys, you got to make sure the bass, don't worry if there's not a lot of bottom end. This is where you come in. You got to make sure there's not too much bottom end. A bass has to come balanced. That's why it's so challenging for producers to mix. So in this case, without no EQ, it's sounding good but lacking the low end. This is where I'm adding the 8 dB at 166. Let me unmute this. You can hear that bottom end a little bit more rounder. So the bass competes with the drums. Remember to give me a shout out, guys, if you're out there watching or live. Now, adding a little bit of meat here, about 5K. Let's bring in back the snare. Let me go to the mix window here. Snare drum is coming out of. Let me go ahead and solo safe the drums. That shift and click. Now here we have a small percussive instrument here. This is to maintain that soca groove here. Let's keep that in mono here. I'm gonna send a little bit of it to the wave doubler. Make sure I'm hearing the effect here. Turn on the little bit of chorus effect here. Now I have a second hi-hats here. Let's get there. Okay. That's what that's playing right there. Rarely I EQ the hi-hat sound. You want to keep it natural, unless it's an old vintage beat up hi-hats, then by all means you need to put some brightness in it. So there's a second one here, which is the pluck synth. You don't want one instrument is louder than the other. You want to make everything in balance. So I'm gonna bring in the iron here. We have turned this into mono and send a copy to the waves doubler. We'll get a little bit more spread. And I'm gonna bring in the live cymbals here. Very simple beat. Let's bring in the drums. Let's see if I can add a little bit of grit to it. Let's bring it back. A little bit of brightness on the 8K here. Bring in a guitar. You want to make sure you're listening to how each instruments come together to formulate one band, one sound. Let's bring in the second guitar. Now, since the acoustic guitar is taking the main stage on the song, we want to make sure we're getting more life from the drums. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of grit to that. Better yet, let me affect only the drum kit. So what I'm gonna do, since the drum is sung a little bit thin now, I'm gonna add a little bit of harmonic saturation here, and so we can get a little bit more present out of the drums as soon as that acoustic guitar comes in. So let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to boost the drive here. Bypass. It sounded like I'm getting more volume, but it's actually saturation. Now let's bring in the last synthesizer here, the pluck here. Bring in right at here. Isolate this cymbal here. Now I'm liking what the pluck is doing here, but I need a little bit more tightness to the sound. Whenever artists or producers tell they need a little more tightness to a certain sound, you want to expand the sound, sounding like somebody's really plucking the keys. So a couple of ways we can do that. We can try compression here. So I'm gonna try the DBX from Waves, the 160. It's known for tightening stuff up. I'm gonna play the pluck by itself for the sake of the tutorial. with the threshold here. Now you can hear that punch and that tightness. Before, after. It sounded like the musician is playing a little bit harder on the keys. That's what I wanted. So it can tie in with both of the guitars here. Let's bring in the drums. Out of the volume. That's the bridge part. And then it goes right back to the verse. Now, the main body of this track, you gotta have fat drums, a fat bass, and the guitar has to be up front. So we're getting a little bit of acoustic feel with the soca vibes there. And the guitar, I have no reverb on it. I just have it dry because I want it right in your face, just like what you hear for Lil Biitts and nappy. At times you can take rooms and send a drum it to get a little bit more width, a little bit depth, but this is good enough right here. So I'm gonna play it back and slightly balance each instrument here as I play along here. Watch what happens when I take off the DBX on the plug. Off. Not hearing it much. Turn on the compression. The bass I played all by hand, and that's how I managed to recreate the breakdown of Cosign by Lil Biitts and Nappy on that soca collaboration there. Let me know in the comment, guys, what you'd like to know, how we tackle soca music, how we get the elements to fit, as I show you a little bit while ago, how we get certain things done to create that vibe. Mixing is all about the vibe. There ain't no playbook or rule book. You just gotta go with the vibe and don't overdo stuff.